Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will now hear the lawyer's opening statements. Please remember, these statements, like anything the lawyers say, are not evidence. They are merely a way for the attorneys to give you a preview of what they expect the evidence in this case will be. Listen carefully, but make your decisions only on what you hear from the witness stand. Ms. Emerson, for the people, will address you first. Ms. Emerson.
Guess where I've been?
Shopping.
Huge sale on Melrose. I am so excited about our bet. Look, an entire outfit for under $100. Why weren't you there?
I was too busy.
Well, you better get on it or you are going to lose. Michael, what's wrong? Subpoena.
May it please the court, distinguished opposing counsel, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I echo what Your Honor has just told you. What I say is not evidence. It is based on our investigation of the case, what the people expect the evidence that you hear from the witness stand will show. On March 21st, 1997, this man, Ridge Forrester, took this gun and willfully, deliberately, and with premeditation attempted to murder Grant Chambers. The people's evidence will establish this beyond a reasonable doubt. We will show you that Ridge Forrester had the motive to murder Grant, that he had the opportunity to murder him, and that he had the means. This .32 caliber revolver to do so. Motive, opportunity, means. Now let us examine the evidence that will be introduced. At the beginning of this year, Grant's wife, Brooke, gave him total control of a corporation in which she owned the majority interest, Forrester Creations. That company was previously owned by the Forrester family. Now, when Brooke gave Grant control, she stripped the Forresters of their control, but more importantly, of their status. And what Brooke didn't take from them, Grant did, completely. He even changed designs which Eric Forrester submitted. And he did all this almost immediately before Ridge went to his office, stood facing Grant, and attempted to murder him with this revolver at almost point-blank range. And that brings us to the second element of our case, that Ridge Forrester had ample opportunity to commit murder. The best opportunity in the world. All he had to do was what he did. Walk from his office at Forrester Creations to the office right next to his. And it is that walk which will prove to you beyond any doubt whatsoever that this attempted murder was willful, deliberate, and premeditated.
They want you to testify at Ridge's trial?
In less than an hour. So I gotta get out of here.
Michael, it's no big deal. You'll do fine.
Yeah, I'm not so sure.
Why not?
Claudia, it was the prosecutor who called me to testify.
The prosecutor.
Yeah, do you know what that means? It means she thinks that I could help prove that Ridge is guilty.
How can you possibly help the prosecutor?
I don't know, but she obviously thinks I can.
You don't think Ridge is guilty, right?
No.
Okay, then I don't see how anybody can make you say what you don't want to say.
Claudia, the prosecutor is probably a very sharp lady, right? Well, what if she twists my words around?
You get mad and you don't let her.
I don't know, Claudia. I have never testified in a court case before, and I've got to tell you, I'm freaked out. What if I blow this for Ridge?
Michael, you will do just fine. Just keep it together. Now you go get him. Okay? Come here. Just fine.
Let me tell you about the means Ridge Forrester used to commit this crime. This gun was recovered from the floor of Grant Chambers' office. It was covered with Ridge Forrester's fingerprints, just where you would expect them to be. On the cylinder, the grip. The gun was brought to Forrester Creations that very day by the defendant's mother, Stephanie Forrester, ostensibly to ask Ridge to have it repaired. The round that was fired into Grant Chambers came from this gun. Scientific tests performed on Ridge Forrester's hands right after the shooting show the presence of a material known as gunshot residue, which indicated that he had recently fired a gun. At the conclusion of the case, when you have heard all the evidence, I am certain that you will agree that the evidence is overwhelming, that Ridge Forrester willfully, deliberately, and with premeditation attempted to murder Grant Chambers as the people have charged. Thank you.
Mr. Young will now address you.
Let's skip all the nice words and get right to it. Ridge Forrester has pleaded not guilty to this offense. That means that the prosecution must prove each and every legal element of this offense beyond a reasonable doubt. Not, you must know, not the comic strip elements of means, motive, and opportunity, which our prosecutor, Ms. Emerson, has spoken about, but the legal elements as they will be defined for you by Her Honor. Please reserve judgment until Her Honor does that. And then, for reasons I will describe later, we will gladly place our fate in your hands.
Michael, about these Asian reports.
You will hear evidence, unimpeachable evidence, that Ridge Forrester is not the type of person to solve valid disputes with a gun or with violence of any type. You will also hear evidence, again unimpeachable, that there were at least 5 people in that building at that time who had the same kind of business disputes with Grant Chambers and had the knowledge that the gun was in Ridge Forrester's drawer. None of them was properly investigated. And in the end, you'll be asked to answer the question, why? If Ridge Forrester is the type of person the prosecution tries to paint him to be, why he would choose to use his mother's gun, why he would choose the middle of a busy day at Forrester Creations, in front of God and all these witnesses, to attempt this foul deed, and then leave the gun on the floor. I submit that when you consider the evidence carefully and question the prosecution's theories, you'll have no alternative but to find Ridge Forrester not guilty. The proper administration of the law will demand that you do so. Thank you.
What? What are you doing in here?
Changing. What did you think?
Well, I tell you what, I didn't think that I'd find a half-naked woman.
Oh, but life is so full of surprises. Pleasant ones sometimes. Anyway, Michael went off to court. She has to testify.
For the prosecution?
Yeah.
Huh.
I'm surprised you're not there.
Well, I can't be. It's against the rules. I've been called to testify, too.
Well, I hope you can help your brother.
Yeah, I hope so, too.
Please.
There you go.
Thank you.
It's pretty cool.
You think so?
Yeah, it's great. Where'd you get it?
On Melrose. How much do you think it cost? Shoes and accessories.
Let me see. I don't know, what, $500–600?
$78.34, tax included.
That's great.
I know, it was a huge sale. Actually, Michael and I have this bet going to see who can come up with the coolest outfit for under $100.
Well, I'd say you have a very good chance of winning.
Oh, I should nominate you judge.
I don't want any part of that, thank you.
I'm sure you'd be fair. Unbiased.
I need to get back to work.
How's it going with Taylor?
This is horrible.
You don't have to put yourself through this.
Yes, I do. Rich needs me.
Ms. Emerson, are you ready to call your first witness?
Yes, Your Honor. The state calls Officer Arthur Ambrose to the stand.
Officer Ambrose.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
State your name.
Arthur Ambrose.
Officer Ambrose, will you please tell us what your profession is?
I'm a police lab technician.
And were you the lab technician who analyzed the evidence relevant to the Grant Chambers shooting?
Yes, I was.
Could you please tell us about that evidence? I have here People's Exhibit number 1 for identification. Do you recognize it?
Yes, it's the gun that was brought in from the crime scene.
Did you do test on this gun for fingerprints?
Yes, I did.
And what did you find?
There were several partial prints, which we later identified as belonging to various men and women who work at Forrester Creations.
Was there a set of prints more prevalent than any others?
Yes, there was.
And how prevalent were they?
80% of the prints on the gun belonged to one person.
Did you identify that person?
Yes, we did.
Who is it?
The fingerprints belonged to the defendant, Ridge Forrester.
What other evidence did you analyze?
We looked for GSR.
Could you explain what that is?
GSR stands for gunshot residue.
And what is that?
When a handgun is discharged, the burning powder from the cartridge leaves a residue on the hands of the shooter. Unless, of course, the shooter's wearing gloves.
What does this residue consist of?
Primarily two elements, barium and antimony.
Then what did you do?
We took swabs from the hands of Ridge Forrester.
And what did you find?
Barium and antimony.
No further questions.
Mr. Young.
Officer Ambrose, is it possible for you to conclude from your GSR test that that gun was fired by Ridge Forrester?
No.
No. What?
No, we can't conclude that it was Ridge Forrester who fired the gun, but it's very strong circumstantial evidence, Counselor.
It's not even that, is it? Now, you didn't even find the proper amounts of barium and antimony in the right proportions to each other, did you?
No, but what...
No buts, officer. Because without the proper amounts and proportions of barium and antimony, you can't even say that you found GSR, can you?
Maybe not technically.
Not at all, Officer Ambrose. Not at all. And that is all.
Redirect, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Officer Ambrose, are there specific and precise amounts of barium and antimony that must be found before you can conclude you have GSR on a suspect's hands?
No. The amounts vary with the type of cartridge and the manufacturer of the cartridge, the lot the cartridge was manufactured in, and the type of weapon.
So, depending on all these variables, you might find a large amount, a small amount, or something in between.
Exactly.
Officer Ambrose, in all your years as working as a lab technician, have you ever been involved in a case where the proportions of barium and antimony in gunshot residue were the same as those found on Rich Forrester's hands?
Your Honor, this is improper.
Sit down, Mr. Young. The witness is answering on the basis of expertise and experience. Answer the question, Officer Ambrose.
Yes, ma'am. There have been cases where the proportions of barium and antimony were the same as those found on Mr. Forrester's hands. And yes, in those cases, it turned out to be GSR, gunshot residue.
No further questions, Your Honor.
You may step down, Officer Ambrose.
I'm sorry, was that the wrong question?
No, things with Taylor and me are fine.
Oh. I got the feeling by the way that you reacted.
I just wish she was a little less obsessed with Ridge's problems. That really isn't fair of me.
Why not?
My brother's on trial for a crime that I don't believe he committed. Of course Taylor's gonna be concerned.
But it still bothers you.
I just have to rise above it.
Can you do that?
Yes. I better get back to work. Nice outfit.
Thorne, I know I've said this before, but it still holds true. A man like you should not have to beg for a woman's attention.
I'm not, Claudia.
I hope not. Because there are women who would willingly give it to you.
The state calls Michael Lai to the stand.
Michael Lai.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
State your name.
Michael Lai.
Miss Lai, what is your profession?
I'm a marketing director at Forrester Creations.
And how would you describe your relationship with Rich Forrester?
He's my boss.
Is he also a friend?
Yes.
You understand, I want to ask you some questions about Ridge and about the day Grant Chambers was shot.
Do you understand I won't want to answer those questions?
Can I treat her as a hostile witness, Your Honor?
You may proceed.
Do you understand the seriousness of the oath you've just taken? That you've sworn to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Then answer truthfully the following questions.